All right, how's everybody doing? This is my review of the 2021 John Deere Gator. Now this is the HPX615E. The 615, that's the gasoline engine, and it's about 600 cc's, which translates to about 20 horsepower. Now we'll get to the controls in just a minute, but let me show you the big selling feature for me is not only the cargo bed, which is huge. So this cargo bed is like 4 feet by 4 feet by 1 feet high. It's got these rails, which you can strap things down with. You can also attach straps down to these points. These are aftermarket. These are not John Deere. These are for ATVs, and I'm using these for my weed trimmer and for shovels and rakes. Okay, but check out this cargo bed. So, unlike a lot of utility vehicles, this one has a pickup style tailgate with the handle here instead of on the two sides. Speaking of the sides on this can come off, and then you drop the tailgate down and this becomes a flat bed. And if you're wondering, this cargo bed is rated for 1,000 pounds. Now, if you're worried about overloading it, check this out. It's got basically spring covered shocks in the back, but the way this is designed is that if you overload it with more than 1,000 pounds, it'll basically come down and stop on the metal frame. I mean, I've read that the failing weight is more like 2,000 pounds. Okay, so this is going to be really handy for me. It's got the standard 2-inch receiver, and check out the engine. Now, does anybody know what this is? This is something that is new to me. So let's look at the engine. This is another selling point. The handle is right here, and the bed swings up. Look at how accessible everything is. Unlike my old Kawasaki Mule, I can check the oil really easily here. Here's your oil fill. Here's the fuel filter for replacement. The oil filter is actually pretty easy to get to. This right here is continuously variable transmission. What that means is, yes, it's belt driven, but what that means is there's an infinite number of gears. And you notice when you're driving, first of all, it's so quiet. And it's got this kind of whistling almost sound. Sounds like the Jetsons. So it's going wee, 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 wee. And what's happening is that's constantly adjusting based on the strain on the tires. It constantly adjusts. So you've got basically an infinite number of gears. Okay, so this just comes down like this. I got the black poly top for a sunshade. I did not opt for the windshield. The other thing is, the first thing I did was take the safety net doors off. And you can wear a seatbelt if you're traveling at higher speeds. All right, now let's look at the console here. Okay, you got cup holders and the gear shift here. The only thing that I would prefer is to not have this in the way, because I like to slide back and forth depending on what I'm doing. I like to just slide. This is a bench seat, so that makes it easier than the bucket seat option. Obviously a little glove box here. It does not close. It's not weather tight. If you're wondering what's under here, this is the radiator. So this is fluid cooled, unlike the Kawasaki Mule. And you'll hear that kick on. You'll hear the fan kick on with a little bit of strain. Okay, so obviously you've got the ignition, the choke over here, and then you've got a power switch for 4-wheel drive, power switch for differential lock, power switch for headlights, and then your typical 12-volt power outlet here. All right, it runs really smooth. We're gonna fire it up in a minute. There's only one tiny little covered storage under here. I mean, you know, you could put some stuff down in there, but it's not as spacious in terms of, let's say, a huge front area like the Kawasaki Mule. All right, you can get brush guards for the front. I just got the standard package. You can also get a winch. You see there's a receiver for the front end under there. Let's see, the clearance is only 6 inches, but there's skid plates protecting everything underneath there. So you'll see in just a few minutes, see there's a skid plate protecting basically the transmission and the engine. You'll see in a few minutes, I'm gonna crash this through saplings. Okay, as far as the tires, I got these all-terrain type of, you know, it's a hybrid between turf tires and off-road tires. It's a little aggressive, but it's not so aggressive it's gonna tear up my lawn. I'm mostly using this for farm work, okay, most of the time. it's going to be on a gravel driveway or a little bit off-road out in some fields. Okay, here we are coming in from another direction. I believe they're Mcpherson Struts on the front, but this also has a screw-in air filter and this little dust release. So if it accumulates a lot of dust, you kind of puff it out. All right, let's look at this little control panel here. So first, you just turn the ignition, and okay, so at the bottom right, this is the hours runtime. I've run it for 2 hours. This is your miles per hour, your speedometer. This is saying whether it's rear wheel, which it's in right now, or if all 4 of these are black, that means you're in 4-wheel drive. The P stands for parking, and then it's got neutral, reverse, high, and low gear. And it's got a fuel gauge, digital fuel gauge, which is nice because, you know, there's no guesswork looking down into the tank to see how full the tank is. All right, as far as shifting, obviously you apply the brake, and we have going from park, that's reverse, neutral, high, and low. Low would be used if you're towing. And speaking of towing, this has a rated tow of 1,300 pounds and I believe 130 pounds on the actual receiver. All right, so let's go ahead and give this a run and I'll show you what it's like in the field. Here we go. Super smooth, super quiet. The shocks are good. Steering is good. Alright, now this is brand new too, so time will tell. Stick that here. Alright, no problem on gravel. I know you want to know how fast it goes, so here we go. This is 24 miles an hour. Very smooth. Alright, it's got a lot of zip. Alright. Now let's take it a little bit off-road. Yeah, still pretty smooth. Alright, definitely bouncy, but not too bad on the back. So now what we want to do is take it right into the brush up ahead. One thing to keep in mind is you've only got 6 inches of clearance, but there are skid plates underneath, so you don't have to worry too much about hitting maybe some little saplings or some fire ant mounds. You see that this is fairly rough, definitely not graded. Normally this would be really wet, and we kick it into 4-wheel drive. Alright, now you hear the throttle kind of going up and down. That's because my foot's bouncing so much. Very sensitive throttle. Alright, gonna slow it down just a little bit. This is 5 miles an hour, much more manageable. Now, let's take it through a little more thick material here. This is actually a Deere trail right down the middle. Alright, really not too bad. I mean, you could take it over into this if you want. See? You could take it over into this if you wanted to. This is brand new, people. No, I'm not worried too much about it. That's what this is for. Alright. Yeah. Alright, that's just cosmetic damage. That's just saplings grinding on the fiberglass exterior. Yeah, very nice ride. This is a little smoother turf. Again, not perfect, not like a golf course, but very smooth. Look, no hands, yeah. So this is 15 miles an hour, going through, 10-inch high grass. No problem. All right, so I'm already a big fan of the yellow and green. You know what they say, nothing runs like a Deere. And I've got the lawnmower and the tractor to match the colors. So this also has a high resale value. As far as the base price, it runs around $11,000. I had $2,500 trade-in value with my Kawasaki. So I think for the money, This, look at this cargo bed. This is a beauty.